Hey there creators, Niamh here, and so I have a little project I'm going to be doing. This is from a friend of mine. She got these picture frames that have, I think, a wood piece in here that's hot glued in, and they each have this little phrase on there, like what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. And these are for her daughter, and she asked me to paint them, keeping the phrases on here, possibly having to go over the phrases again with depending on what I do with this. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I've already measured out the middle on each and marked that with pencil, but I think I'm actually going to erase that completely. And my next step is going to be cleaning the canvases so that any dirt, any grime is off of the canvas. And then I'm going to test to see if I can use watercolors on these, because I think that would be my preferred method. But these are I think they're some sort of wood, maybe like a plywood or something, and they've got this white paint or varnish over it, so I don't know how well it will take to watercolor. So I want to test that out, and if that doesn't work, if it doesn't take the watercolor, then my next choice is probably going to be the acrylic. But I'm not crazy about wanting to do about doing acrylic here, mostly because what I also want to do with this is use some of the sticky adhesive stuff and use embossing, basically putting embossing gold color on it. It is in gold frames, so it'll match the gold frames, but putting some gold embossing on it. And if I do that, then I have to use a heat gun, which won't go well with the acrylic, because the heat will melt the acrylic. But basically it's going to be a bit of an experiment, but we'll see how it goes. So far I've sort of drawn out what I want to do for the what you think you become one. I want to have it be something very geometric. So I measured out the middle here and did 1/2-inch squares all over, and then I did a diagonal on all those. And I'm going to be painting those very geometrically. There's not going to be too much shading or anything like that, but will be very geometric. And this is the one that I think I'm going to use a lot of the gold embossing on. So I'm sort of thinking that it'll have the geometric shape all over, so I'll probably have to redo the lettering on top. And then once it starts to get to the bottom, it's going to be kind of a cascade of the gold that's going up. So it's sort of like, with the geometric stuff, it's, very mathematical, very, I was just thinking of the thinking part and what you become, and it's glitter gold. So that was my thought process there. So for the middle one, I'm going to do kind of a mehendi design here, and it's what you feel you attract, and she asked for hearts on this one, some sort of heart design. So I'm going with, I'm probably going to have the whole background be kind of a pinky color, and then the mehendi designs are mostly going to be in black, but there's going to be a lot of gold accents to it. So there's that one, and I only did half of it because I'm basically going to fold it in half and trace the other side, so I don't have to figure out how to make it perfect there. So finally, the what you imagine you create. I'm still sort of working on this one, but I'm thinking some sort of flower design, blooming creativity sort of a thing. I drew this peony up in the corner here, and that's probably what I want to have come down this way with some falling petals, and maybe kind of filling up the flowers up here. Very floral, a very floral themed design here. The background will probably be like a lighter blue, and the peonies I'm going for more yellow, pink, and orange sort of colors. So that's my idea there. All right, so I'm going to start the next step here and erase the lines that I already put on here. I'm going to clean it, and I'm going to test to see if watercolors works, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, then we'll move on to acrylics and we'll sort of figure it out from there. All right, I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I tried some watercolor on this side, and that didn't work at all. Mostly it stayed on top, it didn't absorb, but even like down in the corners here, it actually caused potential damage. So watercolor is not going to be the way to go, because this is a type of material, it's probably plywood, but it's not going to absorb the water very well. So watercolor is out of the game. What I also tried was some of my pigment markers. Once I saw that the watercolor stayed on the top, it made me think of my pigment markers and how when I use them on Yupo paper, the whole point is that it stays on top. It does not absorb in, and it kind of just dries on top. So I did mark this across, and it's a little dark right now because it was mixed with a darker color. It's not quite as bright as it's supposed to be, but I did use this across here, and it did do a pretty good job. I waited just a couple minutes and then rubbed the towel over a little bit, and you know, it does kind of work, but I'm not sure that I want to use it. I'm probably going to use the acrylics, and if the embossing doesn't work, then I do have gold paint, so we'll use that. Okay, so I've completed this side. I folded this in half and used my light box so that I could complete the other side so that it's exactly the same as this side, both on the top and the bottom of this one. I've also taped each one to the picture. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the other two aside because I'm going to work on this one first, is I'm going to use some graphite transfer paper, and I'm going to put that underneath. And now I'm just going to go over my whole design, and it will transfer it, the graphite, to the picture frame itself. So I'm going to do that right here so you can see what I mean. And I try to push a little hard so that it really transfers. So let's see if that transferred. There you go. So, and I'm going to do that all the way through, and I'm going to do that on each one, and I'll see you when I'm done. All right, so I'm starting on this the flower one, the peony one, and I was going to do those petals coming down from the flower, but as you can see later on, I end up scrapping that and not doing that part. What I end up doing, which you'll see, is kind of incorporating that mehendi design that I had in that first, that middle one, the one that is after this one. But the mehendi design, I decided to do that on all of the canvases, so that there was something that sort of unified all of them, because they're all so very different. They're all very bright colors, and yeah, so the previous one I was going for a blue background, more. I was initially going for a more tealy blue color, but it ended up being more sky blue, and I think I like how that turned out better. So the second one, the pink one, it was mostly pink, but from the top I had it start off with purple, and from the bottom I went with a more orangey color, and just melded those together so it's more of an ombre effect. And now this one, as you saw, I painted a light yellow color, and I purposely went light with that because I needed to make sure that I saw all the pencil marks underneath, because this one especially is a lot more intricate, and this design took me forever to do, all these little triangles and things like that. Yeah, it took a long time. So
and I wasn't exactly sure how a lot of this was sort of made up as I was going along. I mean, I had a general plan, and before I said that at the bottom of this was going to be gold at the bottom, and then it was going to fade, basically a faded gold to the intricate triangle design for the rest of it, but I ended up not doing that. I did the triangle design all the way across, and I sort of did a rainbow. I started off with pinks and a little bit of purples, and then orange and light orange, and then yellow, and then on the other side it was like a purple, and then dark blue, light blue, then green, dark green, light green, and then to yellow, and then in the middle was white. So yeah, and I kept that yellow background there for the not filled in pieces. And if you look closely, you can see the yellow, because I went with a different tone of yellow once I got more toward the center. And then the very middle is the white. And I do go over all the lines in this one later on with some white marker pen, so that all the triangles are separated, and yeah, so it turned out very interesting looking. And as you'll see at the very end, I ended up putting a Mehendi design on the bottom of it, which was busy at first, but I think I toned it down a bit, and it looks pretty good. So here I'm actually using a paintbrush to try to put the lines in, because I wasn't sure. I think the one white paint marker I had was not working, so I was trying to use this paintbrush here, but this was a pain in the butt, and it was causing my ruler to get all white, like I was basically painting the ruler white. So I end up basically freehanding the lines itself, because I didn't really need a ruler anyway. And as you can see here, I have a white paint marker again, and part of that's because I ended up going to the store and I got a white paint marker. So, and this one was mostly the paint markers. Yeah. And I did, I don't show this in, I did this off camera, but I did go over some of the triangles in the previous one with some of the different colors of paint markers that I had. So here I had to redo the design that I had on there, the Mehendi design, because I mean, the top part was quite dark and it had pretty much painted over what I had drawn out there, so I had to redo that. And I had to do that on the flower one too a little bit. But I love how this one turned out. This one may be my favorite one. I'm not sure. I kind of like them all, just in different ways. You know, they're all of them are so different, so unique. But with that Mehendi design kind of connecting them all. And yeah, so yeah, I like how this one turned out though. It was very pretty, and I just tend to really like Mehendi designs anyway. You know, they look good on almost everything. So yeah, I was very happy with that. And as you can see with the flower one, I end up doing the white Mehendi in the background for this instead of doing the flower petals going down. I thought this looked very nice, and you'll see later on that I'll start doing the gold in there. So now I'm starting to paint the peony here, and for some added interest, I put 2 peony buds on each side of the open peony flower there. So yeah, this one turned out very pretty, and yeah. All right, so I'm done with that flower, and now I have to go over the words again. And what I did is I scanned each of these canvases on my scanner and used the exact image size of the canvases in Photoshop, and basically brightened it so that you could only see the words themselves, and then printed that on a piece of regular printer paper, so that it was the exact dimensions of each canvas. And I used the graphite transfer paper to transfer the letters over to the canvases. And of course, with this first one, the pink one here, I could actually still see the letters underneath, so I didn't even need to trace it over. So I didn't. I just traced what I could already see. And now I'm going over with some black paint. And yeah, so the next part here is adding the glitter. So I was nervous about this, and I ended up, when I went out to buy the paint markers, I actually got some marker for hand drawing the glitter stuff, you know, the embossing stuff, because I never had an actual pencil for that. I've always just had a pad. So I went out and bought a pen, a marker for it, so I could freehand the glitter and put the design how I wanted it. So, and I was nervous about this because it was using the heat gun on acrylic. What the concern is that it will melt the acrylic itself, and thankfully it had no issue at all, so I was able to go crazy with the glitter and embossing everywhere, and I love how these turned out. And yeah, and my friend is really happy with it. Her daughter loves them, so all in all, they turned out great. Thanks for watching, guys.